How do you create an effective horror scene in like 5 minutes? Bones and All is a 2022 film directed by Luca Guadagnino about two cannibal lovers who go on a road trip eating rampage. And while this isn't a gay film, there was a gay scene in this that has always haunted me. This carnival scene, where Timothée Chalamet's character named Lee picks up a guy for what the man thinks is just a casual hookup, but this is all a trick. There's something else going on here. The mastery of the scene is how it just casually builds up, and that's something that's not easy to do. So Bones and All takes place in the late 1980s, and while I'm sure there were gay people that were openly proud and out, we're talking about a scene that takes place in the Midwest in the 80s. It's pretty wise to assume that people were not accepting of LGBT people in that environment. You couldn't just randomly go up to a guy and be like, "Hey, you're cute, let's hang out." So what is a filmmaker to do? How do you show attraction without direct dialogue? Well, use a camera. The camera angles in this scene are working as the dialogue here, showing their attraction to each other in a subversive way. And this is something called subjective camera that was made famous by the director Jonathan Demme on The Silence of the Lambs. But this is not an easy technique to do. You have to ease into it, as he explains.
Shoot it exactly from their point of view, which is them looking right into the lens. If it's a dialogue scenes and you want to have the characters talking to each other, you need to have a couple of tight over the shoulders to work your way. You can't just suddenly crash in on those things.
But if it's done correctly, it could be such an intense way to put the audience in the shoes of the characters.
You want the audience to be in the character's shoes.
The subjective camera angle is used here not only to show us that there's attraction at play, but it forces the audience to become hyper-aware of their faces, suggesting to us that there is something deeper going on. Their facial reactions hold the subtle cues to the real situation that's going on underneath the small talk dialogue. But going back for a second, there is an inciting line that the character Lee says to break the social barrier wall.
What's gonna do around here since it's dumbass carnival?
I see this line as a make it or break it situation, because if the guy just says, "No, there's nothing much to do out here," and just looked away, then Lee's character would be out of luck. But he doesn't. The character looks back into his eyes and locks on. And if there's anything I've learned from watching gay movies, it's that the power of looking at someone's eyes was a way to tell them that you're interested in them. And if they reciprocated that look for a little bit longer, they might actually be interested in you. And as the sequence moves on, we are jarringly put back into the other lead character's point of view, now making use of a long handheld lens. We are no longer being cued into motivations of characters with pleasing close-ups, but we are now simply spectators, like a bunch of people watching Feeding Time at the zoo. This sudden change in perspective adds to the horror. The long lens removes the intimate humanity of the experience, forcing us to watch helplessly from afar. And at this brief moment, there's a crossfade, which I thought was an unusual choice because up until that point, it had felt like the sequence was happening in real time. But it is a reasonable tool to use to show that there is a passage of time between the two guys in this intimate moment. And for reasons I obviously can't show you, the two men begin sharing an intimate sexual moment. But then out of nowhere, Lee's character's motivations kick in before the man is even able to finish. It's so screwed up. But this is not the real climax of the scene. You're not able to exhale yet. This was never about the man. This was about Lee's desires. So we cut back to a medium shot of him brutally devouring this man's flesh. This is the climax, and this is the money shot of the scene. While all of this didn't have to be a gay scene, it could have easily been a heterosexual victim, the fact that they did it does make the scene more horrific and tragic. And while the loss of any human life is tragic, there is a deeper weight when it has to do with LGBT people in a small town during this time. Because of the vulnerable reality that LGBT people faced in small towns, particularly at this time. As this scene moves on, we discover that this man indeed had a wife and family, further complicating his situation, but confirming that maybe this man was desperately living a double life, an unfulfilled life full of lies. And then the tragic idea that somebody randomly shows up and is interested in you and you're interested in them, and things might be your ticket out of your situation, but then the dream becomes a nightmare. And if this scene is trying to say anything, maybe it's that. One of the most important things to note about this scene is that it has not haunted me because of the gore of the climax. but it's the build up to it. And that's pretty impressive to do in like 5 minutes.